I'm not a lawyer, but prosecutors in Diddy's federal trial have officially wrapped up their case, so let me tell you how the last day of testimony played out. So the Homeland Security agent was brought back to the stand for cross-examination, and attorney Tinny Garagos used the cross to highlight a few things. Number one, she has the agent read messages of Jane expressing her enjoyment of entertainers as well as making future plans to see them. In one example from December of 2021, Jane sent a message to the entertainer named Sly saying that she was having flashbacks of their recent hotel night and that she wanted him to send her something. She also asked him if he could fly to her that day or the day following. During another text exchange that the attorney highlights, Diddy tells Jane that he was having crazy fantasies about Leo, meaning her and Leo, and then Jane responds to him saying, while she is fine with the other stuff, she really wants him to herself. The next highlight from cross-examination is of Diddy and Jane making efforts to avoid having his staff know about their hotel nights. In one text message, Jane tells the entertainer named Paul to wait to come in until after the butlers were finished what they were doing. And then in another text, Diddy also tells Paul to wait until after his staff left the premises. And for context, the defense is highlighting this to refute the RICO charge and the allegation that Diddy and his staff knowingly participated in these illegal activities. Then there's additional text shown of Jane telling Paul to wait until the quote coast is clear before he came in. And then another message where she tells an entertainer to wait because they were making sure that everyone outside was gone. Next up, the defense attorney has the agent go over messages that Jane sent to Diddy in September of 2023, in which she says, quote, "I love being spicy for you. I love driving you wild." And then another message where she tells an entertainer, quote, "Tonight was amazing, per usual." The next highlight from cross-examination has to do with payments that were made for travel arrangements. If you recall, prosecutors spent a lot of time going over how travel arrangements were paid for. And during cross, the attorney shows records from September and November of 2023 that seem to indicate that Diddy used his personal account to pay invoices connected to travel for Jane and entertainers. From there, the defense attorney wraps up cross-examination and the prosecutors do a brief redirect, and then the agent is excused from the stand and the prosecutors officially rest their case. Now, what's common in just about all trials is that after prosecutors present all their evidence and rest their case, the defense attorneys will make a Rule 29 motion, which is basically a motion for acquittal, and it's them arguing to the judge that the prosecutors have not met their burden of proof and that there isn't even enough evidence for the case to go to the jury and that the judge should just acquit the client now. And just to be clear, while these motions happen in just about every trial, they're also typically denied. And so Diddy's defense team makes their motion and goes through the reasons why they believe that he should be acquitted. Starting off with the RICO charge, they basically tell the judge that prosecutors haven't shown who Diddy conspired or was in agreement with to commit these crimes. If anything, they say prosecutors have shown with, quote, thin proof that Diddy had employees who at times obtained small amounts of narcotics that were used for his personal use, not for distribution. And in regards to a potential conspiracy with his chief of staff, KK, they argue that prosecutors haven't presented any evidence of an agreement between them either. If anything, there's evidence of her knowing about the narcotic use, but again, they say that that was for personal use, not distribution. The attorney argues that some of the text messages that have been shown during this trial show that Diddy at times lied to KK about what he was doing, and according to them, that's not the way co-conspirators act with each other. And then in regards to if the staff knew about the alleged trafficking, the defense says that Diddy and the women took steps to hide the activity from his staff, and from what the staff did know, none of them believed that the women were in danger or being trafficked. The defense attorney then begins to refute some of the predicated acts under the RICO. Starting with the bribery allegation, the attorney says that the money that was paid for the Intercontinental Hotel video was done to avoid negative publicity, not done to bribe. They highlight that there was no police involvement in this matter at all, and that Diddy and Cassie both didn't want that video to come out. In regards to the allegation of obstruction of justice, which for context, some of this claim has to do with D-Rock calling Mia, trying to get her to talk to Diddy, and then Diddy called Mia and she testified that she threw her phone and ran out of her house when she saw his name on her phone. Well, the defense attorney argues that D-Rock was making those calls to try and get Mia to speak with Diddy, but he never made any threats to her. And then for the kidnapping allegation, the attorney argues that Capricorn Clark went willingly to that lie detector place every day because she wanted to prove that she did not steal that jewelry. And then lastly, as it relates to the claim about arson, the attorney argues that there is no evidence that Diddy is connected to that incident at all. Moving on to charge number 2, which is for trafficking Cassie, the defense argues that the government failed to prove that Diddy knowingly coerced Cassie into these activities, and they never showed even a message of her not wanting to participate in them. The attorney does acknowledge the toxic nature of their relationship and says that Diddy was, quote, regrettably violent towards her at times. But the attorney argues that domestic violence is not trafficking, and the evidence didn't show that Cassie engaged in any activity because of violence. And then for charge number 4, which is trafficking related to Jane, the attorney says that Jane engaged in all of her activities for the purpose of economic benefit, in particular, the payment for her house. And so according to them, that wasn't trafficking. They go on to address the allegation that Diddy used fraud to traffic Jane, saying that this claim is vague and that everything Diddy promised to Jane, she got. She got the dinners, the gifts, and her trip to Turks and Caicos. Once the attorney wraps up their argument for this motion, the judge said he will wait to make a decision and then ask Diddy if he plans to testify. Before responding, Diddy tells the judge that he believes he's been doing a great job, and then he confirms that he will not be taking the stand to testify. Which, for context, it is very common for defendants not to testify in their trials. Just so we're clear. And after that exchange, the defense begins the presentation of their case, which again only consists of admitting exhibits into evidence and no witness testimony. So the first exhibit admitted is a message Cassie sent to Diddy back in December of 2012, where she's telling him she's the luckiest woman in the world and that she needs to treat her, quote, pop better, and if she doesn't, he can leave her, but she bets that won't happen. Cassie also tells him that she's down for whatever and is sorry for being mean. The next set of messages admitted into evidence is from a conversation between Diddy and Cassie from the spring of 2017, in which Diddy asks her if she could do an FO without being intoxicated, and Cassie responds, quote, yeah, I'll just have to be at my level and what is good for me. And then the next messages are from a month later, in which Diddy asks Cassie what she was going to do, and Cassie responds by saying, quote, be your little freak. After the exhibits, the defense goes over some stipulations or things they and the government have agreed to, and it has to do with things witnesses have told the government during their interviews. For example, one of the stipulations is that at 4 out of the 7 meetings that Dawn Richard had with the government, she never said that Diddy told her where he comes from, people go missing if they say things. And then another stipulation has to do with witness Brianna Bongalin, the witness regarding the balcony incident. And the stipulation is that she never told prosecutors Diddy told her at a photo shoot that he could end her life. And so with that, the defense officially rests their case. So jurors will stay home tomorrow while the judge and the attorneys have a charge conference, meaning they're going to go over what instructions they're going to give the jury. And then closing arguments are slated to begin on Thursday. The current projection is that the jury won't officially begin deliberating until Monday. And then we'll just be waiting.